Do you have a fabric stash that you're not quite sure what to do with? Then check out today's video and these easy, beginner-friendly fabric projects. I went through a wannabe quilter phase a few years ago. And I quickly learned that I do not have the patience to be a quilter. But I picked up this pack of quilting squares. There are 50 5-inch squares in that pack. I have no idea where I even picked this up. It's been so long ago. And these are all blue and yellow themed pieces of fabric. So instead of making a quilt with these, I am going to be doing something completely different. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to look through all of these fabric squares and pick out a few of my favorites, and then we will move on to the next step in our project. So here's all of the fabric squares that I thought were the prettiest out of that fabric pack, and I decided to go ahead and pull 15 of these. I am going to be batch crafting this, and I don't really have any other ideas for this fabric. If you guys have an idea for how to use 5-inch fabric squares, leave me a comment. So now that I have everything picked out, we can move on to what we need to do next to get this project pulled together. You will need a roll of this non-slip shelf liner. This is 6 feet on a roll, and you can find this at Dollar Tree. So I just need to get all of the packaging off of this, and they don't make that easy with the tape. Now that that's off of there, we can unroll this and make this easier to work with. So what I want to do is line up one of my fabric squares with my non-slip shelf liner. And then I want to just carefully cut that out, and it's okay if it's a little bit larger than my fabric square because we will be trimming this up with some pinking shears. And the fabric does stick pretty well to that shelf liner while I am cutting, so again, just make sure you have that lined up and just cut all the way around each of your squares, however many of these that you want to make. So let's see if I did okay. Not bad. Now I will just finish cutting out all the rest of my pieces to go with each of my fabric squares. Once I have all of my liner pieces cut out, it is time to start putting all of these together. And I did start with that liner on the top just to make sure I could see my fabric through that and try to line everything up. And I did use these Wonder Clips first, and then you can easily just kind of adjust your fabric when you need to. And I used some straight pins to hold everything together, but you do want to put those on the fabric side up because you will be sewing with your fabric side up. Otherwise, it's just really hard to keep your fabric from bunching up when you are running this through your sewing machine. And I did this between 3/8 and 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm not exactly sure what that number would be, but that is where I tried to keep everything lined up while I was sewing these pieces together. And when you start sewing any project, you want to either do a back stitch or a locking stitch. My machine has a button where I can just push and do that locking stitch. So I will do one or the other. Just depends on the project and how I'm feeling at the moment. but you want to just sew around all of your edges of your fabric squares. And one tip while you are sewing, if you put your needle down in a corner and just lift your presser foot and turn your piece of fabric, whatever you are working on, you will be sure that you start your seam in the exact same spot. Thank you for watching my video today. I hope you guys are enjoying these projects so far. If you are, please be sure that you give this video a thumbs up and also click that hype button. If you are new here, welcome to my small little corner of YouTube. I am Alicia and I am so happy that you are here today. Now let's get back to our projects. And for this project, I did have to do a stitch or a seam in the center. Is kind of an X. You want to go from corner to corner on both sides of this. That just helps the fabric lay in place better, and it will actually fit onto that non-skid shelf liner a little bit better. Otherwise, it's just kind of loose and it might pull your stitches loose. And then you just want to trim off any of those extra threads. Just make sure everything looks nice and neat and professional. And this is such a quick and easy project. It would be a really good idea to make a lot of these like I'm doing, and you can have them to tuck into little gift bags or things like that, because these make great gifts. I'm actually making a bunch of these for a spring craft show that I'm going to be participating in April. And that is it for this project. I love how simple and easy these are, but these are super pretty as well. What do you guys think about this one? I found several different packs of fabric on Amazon, and I have had this in my stash for several years, so I'm trying to work my way through that. And I am using that little center square on my rotary mat. I think that was a 10-inch by a 10-inch square. So I'm just using that to line up my fabric for this project, and I will be cutting that down to 5 by 5 inches. And I'm also doing a larger one that's about 5.5 by 6 inches. And I love my acrylic ruler and my rotary blade for all of my fabric projects. That just makes everything go a lot quicker, and you get nice clean cuts with those tools. And I will link those for you guys in the description box so you can check those out if you want to add some supplies to your stash for fabric projects. So here's what my fabric pieces look like. I have kind of a smaller one and then a medium to large sized one. And these would also be great to make for gifts. I actually did that several years ago for Christmas. We are going to be making some hot and cold packs. And just for video purposes, I used 100% cotton fabric. If you want these to be a little bit more heavy duty and sturdy, you might want to use a different fabric, maybe canvas or something. Just make sure that it is heat safe. And then again, you just want to pin everything together. And I just use some straight pins for my starting and stopping point, because those just look different than the Wonder Clips, and that will help me remember, oh, I need to stop here, because you do want to leave an opening so you can fill your little hot and cold packs. And again, once you have everything sewn together, you want to trim off any extra threads, and you want to trim the corners. That just makes it easier to turn these and get those corners poked out. So once you have all of that trimmed off, you just want to turn everything right side out. And you want to do this carefully because you don't want to bust any of those seams that you have sewn. And I like to start with just pulling one corner through and just working slowly until I have my little hot and cold pack turned right side out. And I like to use either the eraser end of a pencil or a paintbrush just to help me get those corners poked out. And for my hot and cold packs, I opted to use rice today. You can use beans or corn if you want to, but rice is very inexpensive, and I just picked up a couple of packs at the Dollar Tree. And I have this funnel on hand, and that just made it easier to get these filled. You don't want to overfill these, or it will make it hard to sew up your opening that you have left. And for mine, I had some dried lavender on hand, so I added a little bit of that, and oh, it smelled so good, you guys, while I was working on these. I just kept taking deep breaths. And you know, lavender is very relaxing, so when you have kind of an injury or something, that aromatherapy is part of the treatment as well. And I just kind of shook my little packs together to mix up that rice with the lavender, and once I had it filled, the way I wanted it to. Again, don't overfill this. I just held that in place with a wonder clip and stitched that closed. And now you can simply just add this to your microwave, and I like to do 30-second intervals and just to see how hot I want to get that, and then it is ready to place on any boo-boo or injury that you might have, and you can also keep these in the freezer. Let me know what you guys think about this idea, and again, these would be perfect to add to gift baskets or gift bags this year. Hobby Lobby is putting out all of their spring and summer themed fabrics, and I found this absolutely gorgeous one just a couple of weeks ago. I love that it has the scripture on there. Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul. I wanted to come up with a project that would really highlight this fabric, and I also have another idea in mind that I will be showing you guys in a later video. But for today, I wanted to do something that would be super functional and that I would use quite often. I watched a video several years ago, and that was a tutorial on how to make a very simple zippered pouch, and that's what I'm going to be making today. I will link that original video for you guys to check out in the description box. She has a lot of good tips, and she has just a lot of knowledge about sewing and things, so I think you would really enjoy her video as well. So for your pouch, you will need 2 outer pieces of fabric. Those need to be 10 inches by 6.5 inches, and then you will also need 2 lining pieces with those same measurements. And if you want your pouch to be a little bit sturdier and have more structure, you would choose a different type of fabric. I have made these with canvas. You could use denim, something that would be thicker, and that would just make your pouch be a little bit sturdier. And my lining fabric, I just decided to use a plain white cotton, and this is one of the rolls that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and they are always super wrinkled, so I just gave that a good iron before I cut that out. And I used my outer pieces just as templates to cut out my lining pieces. So here's everything that I need for my pouch, and I have a bundle of zippers that I picked up on Amazon several years ago, and I decided to go with the yellow one to pick up that yellow color in the flowers and the bees on this fabric print. To start putting this together, you want to put your lining fabric face side up if it has a print on it. Put your zipper down, and then your outer piece of fabric face side down. And then I like to use these wonder clips instead of straight pins for this part. It's just a little bit easier to hold that zipper in place. And we are kind of moving up in our sewing techniques here. You do want to use a zipper foot for this little zippered pouch. My machine just makes it easy to attach that. And the zipper foot just allows you to stay close to that zipper and not have the presser foot get in the way or anything while you are sewing your seam. So once you have that together, you are going to kind of build a sandwich. You will put your second piece of lining fabric right side up, again, if it matters with the pattern. And then you want to place the zipper facing up. So you'll kind of flip your fabric. You guys saw what I did there. You just want to make sure you kind of open that up so you can see your zipper and it is facing up towards you. Then you will want to put your other piece of outer fabric facing down. Clip all of that together and sew just like you did before, all the way down that zipper using your zipper foot on your sewing machine. So once you have that done, when you open everything up, this is what it should look like. It kind of looks like a book at this point with a zipper in the middle. And I like to test my zipper too several times throughout this process just to make sure that it is opening the way it needs to. And then you want to iron everything really well. This just makes it a little bit easier to do a top stitch along either side of your zipper, and it just makes everything look a little bit neater and more professional. And I like to also flip that over and iron my lining as well, because sometimes when you just do that outer fabric, you don't get the lining completely lined up. This just helps make sure you get all of your fabric lined up, all of those edges. Then you want to put just your regular presser foot back on your machine, and you just want to do a top stitch. This just makes sure that your outer fabric and your lining fabric will hold together for you. And I like to do a back stitch once again on either side of my seam. Now, the most important thing that you need to remember at this point is to open your zipper. If you don't open your zipper now, you will not be able to turn your pouch right side out. So you want to make sure that you line up your zipper teeth facing the lining part of your pouch. You just want to kind of fold those in and make sure they are that way, because you know when you open a bag, the zipper teeth are inside your lining, not facing out towards your pretty fabric or whatever. And I like to use those clips once again. Just hold that zipper in place first, and then it's a lot easier to just get everything else clipped or pinned together. So again, just make sure your zipper teeth are pointing inwards to your lining fabric. So your lining fabric is going to be together, and then your outer fabric pieces are going to be together. And I'm using those straight pins just at my starting and stopping points again, just for a visual cue when I'm sewing everything together. That just reminds me, hey, I need to stop here at this point. Otherwise, I sew everything together and I have to rip it out so I can turn everything right side out. So all you have to do is start sewing at that first pin, sew all the way around to the second, trim off your corners and any of that zipper bulk that you might have on those edges there. And that will just make it a lot easier to turn your pouch right side out. And here's why it is so important that you leave that zipper open. Otherwise, you cannot pull your bag right side out. You wouldn't be able to get into that lining and flip that. So you just want to make sure you have all your corners poked out. Try to get everything turned the way it needs to be. Push those zipper sides out. And then I don't know what happened with my footage, you guys, but I just sewed that hole in the lining closed, just did a straight stitch, put that back down in the pouch, and this is ready to go. You can, again, batch craft with a lot of these, and these are great to have at craft fairs. These are great for makeup bags. This was the perfect size for my new crochet hooks, pens, pencils, whatever you can find to put in these. It would be great to go in a Bible bag, whatever that you would want to. Now that you have an idea of some basic fabric projects, I would love to know which one of these that you might try in the near future. Please give today's video a thumbs up, click that hot button, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And also be sure that you click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. I hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you in the next one.